Alright, so in today's video, we're going to talk about how to ace your assessment center if you're looking to apply for one of the big fours, which is KPMG, PwC, EY, and Deloitte. So if you're looking to apply for an entry-level position at a big four, it is guaranteed, it is certain that at some point you would have to take an assessment center. So in this video, what I have done is I'm going to walk you through the tips and just things to expect if you are going for an assessment center at the big four. Hello everyone and welcome back to the YouTube channel. I am Rhoda Olabisi. If you're for the first time, I would need you to smash that subscribe button, okay? It really helps my channel to grow. So there are about 3 typical stages in an assessment center depending on the firm. The steps or the stages or the exercises that you do at an assessment center depends or it differs per firm, but they are usually the same kind of exercises. So I'm going to explain 3 typical stages that you would usually encounter when you go for an assessment center. So the first one and the one that is prevalent is the group exercise or the group discussion. Now this one is almost inevitable. You definitely do a group discussion or group exercise. So in a typical group discussion or group exercise, people will be divided into groups of 4 to 6 people. Each group will be given a group of either related questions or completely different questions. Now these questions are usually a business case specific question, right? And it will be questions about, say, a company is failing and they're looking to have a turnaround, or maybe a company is trying to launch a new product, or different scenarios like that. What you just need to know is that it is going to be a business case question. So usually participants are expected to analyze the question and then give a kind of presentation or discussion based on the information that's been provided to them. And this exercise is usually timed. You are expected to work within very stringent timelines. So the assessors will be assessing things like your leadership skills, your teamwork skills, and your communication skills. These 3 things are very, very important. So for the teamwork skill, now I think a mindset that is very important for you to have is that don't look at the people in your group as people you are competing against, right? Because believe it or not, you are applying for an entry-level role, which is usually called the graduate trainee role. They can afford to even recruit every single person on your group. Usually the organizations are not looking to just hire one person for a graduate trainee role. They are looking to hire multiple people, 20 or more people, a lot of people. So don't go into it trying to compete with them. Go into it with a mindset or an attitude of collaboration, right? Because they can actually hire all of it. So it's not like a winner wins all kind of things. It's not a zero-sum game, right? So don't try to be just cutthroat and things like that. So once you have this mentality, it kind of informs or it kind of influences your attitude. You're not trying to be domineering, you're not trying to shine, you're not trying to just do too much, you're not trying to put other people down, you're not allowing people to talk, things like that, right? So another skill I mentioned is your communication skills, right? So if at some point you need to talk, make sure that you're very concise and specific. So an approach you can use when you're trying to speak is speak about the what, how, and why. Talk about the what are you trying to talk about? The how are you trying to achieve, say, the business solution that you're preferring? The why should people go for that particular solution that you're preferring? That will help you to like structure your answer and so that it makes sense and is very straight to the point. And then the last skill that I talked about is your leadership skill. So now let's say, for example, there's someone in the group that you see that the person has not really made a contribution. What you can do is to kind of like pull them in, right? Now don't call them out and be like, Rhoda, you've not made a contribution, or Rhoda, you've not said anything. What you can do is say, oh Rhoda, what do you think about that kind of thing, right? So try and make sure that you are the person who is trying to get people involved and you're not doing it in a very like domineering way or you're trying to talk down at them. Not that. Try to just involve them in the conversation. So just make sure you're paying attention to these 3 skills when you're in your group discussion or your group exercise. Now another stage or another exercise that is very prevalent in assessment centers is the case study exercise. Now it's very possible that the question or the exercise that they would have given you during your group presentation or your group discussion is a case study, right? But it's also very possible that it is not a case study exercise, that you would also have a different case study exercise. Now sometimes it could be one or the other, and other times it could be the 2 of them. Okay, so now for this case study exercise, it's very important that before you go for an assessment center, you've gone online, you've practiced a lot of different case studies questions, and you kind of have a method to answering these kind of questions, or a way to kind of think about how to provide solutions to this kind of case study questions. Now, a case study exercise is to kind of assess candidates problem solving skills and analytical thinking skills. Very, very important thing to note when you're trying to participate in a case study exercise. Questions are usually fictional. It could be in form of a written report, it could be in form of a presentation or a group discussion, as I mentioned earlier. So the case study could be in form of a consultant's report or the result of a recent research that was conducted, and you'll be required to answer questions based on the information that's been provided to you. Before you start the exercise, it's very important for you to read the instructions. I think you should know that by now. Read the instructions very carefully. Make sure you understand what is required of you, such that you are not just jumping into the exercise or say the paragraph or whatever it is and you're just reading and trying to just hurry up, right? Understand the instruction, because this will kind of guide how you then approach reading the question and then answering the questions on the case study exercise. Also, another thing that I think is very important for you is that you need to understand how your performance will be assessed. Do not shy away from asking questions. If you have any questions or hesitations as regards the exercise that I've been given, do not hesitate to ask the assessors questions that would kind of guide your own answers or your own exercises. So for the case study exercise as well, do not be close-minded to just one particular approach of doing things. Think about all the possibilities, or think about all the ways or approaches that you can go about solving a particular problem, because the more solutions or the more approaches you have, the better for you. That kind of demonstrates your ability to think on your feet, right? So during this exercise, as I mentioned earlier, you need to be able to demonstrate an ability to work under pressure, right? To be able to provide business solutions in a very stringent timeline, because that's really what you'll be facing if you're recruited to join the firm, right? So this case study is just like a scenario of, okay, so if you're to join this firm, how would you manage making decisions? How would you go about thinking about problem solving? How would you profess solution? How would you manage? How would you act or react when you're under pressure, when you're trying to meet a very close timeline? And that's basically what they're trying to assess. So apart from the case study exercise, another stage or another exercise that's very prevalent during assessment centers is the individual interview. Now, usually the stage of the interview is conducted by someone who is in middle management in the firm that you're looking to join. So it's usually a team lead, because those people are now coming to see, oh, if this person was to be on my team, how would they manage? How would they adapt? How would they integrate with the team, right? So the kind of questions that are kind of common in this particular stage is scenario-based questions. They will ask you about, tell me about a time when, and I've mentioned this in my previous videos, that the best way for you to answer scenario-based questions is to use the STAR approach, which is the situation, the task, the action, and the result, right? So this is just a way for you to structure your answer so it is concise and it answers the specific question that you're asking. So if you take this method or approach to answering this kind of questions, it can help you to answer any question on the go, even if you've never experienced that situation. So they can say, okay, Rhoda, tell me about a time when you could not meet a specific deadline that was given to you on the task. It's very possible that I have not experienced that situation, but because I have a method to answering that kind of question, I'll just, in that moment, best believe I can come up with an example. I just start by talking about the situation. When I was working at XYZ company, so thing happened. Task, then you say, I was asked to make a presentation deck, but I was not able to meet the timeline. Because why were you not able to meet the timeline? Because you had to prioritize another task from another project. Now, action is, what did you do then after you missed the timeline, right? So I say, when I missed the timelines, or when I was about to miss the timeline, I spoke to my manager or my team lead and I explained to them that, I'll not be able to meet this timeline because you give your reason. R is result. Talk about what happened as a result of that action that you took. They can say then your manager responded and told you that it's fine, that you can still work on the deck, but they have to get it that same day before close of business. That's just the method or the approach to use to answer scenario-based questions. See how I was able to come up with an answer for you, even though I've not necessarily been in that situation before. So that is just a way that I advise that people answer scenario-based questions. And those are the kind of questions that you'll be asked during your individual interview at the assessment center. Now, the individual interview is usually the last stage for the assessment center, right, for most of the recruitment processes in the Big Four. Now, if you pass this particular stage, then you'll be shortlisted for the partners interview. The partners interview is usually the last stage of the recruitment processes in the Big Four. So now, just to kind of recap or have a rerun of the points that I've listed, the typical stages or exercises that are likely to come across for your assessment center at the Big Four. Is the first one, we have the group discussion or group exercise. That one, it is unavoidable, okay, so prepare for that. The second one is the case study exercise. Then the third one is the individual interview. So that has brought us to the end of today's video. Do not forget, if you have questions that are relevant to the kind of videos that I make on this channel, do not hesitate to drop them in the comment section. I'll try to respond to every single one of them. Also, do not forget to smash that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up.